What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. Before I get into this video, as always, I'd like to remind you guys that if you want to donate to this channel, if you want to show love to this channel, you can do so on the links provided in the description box. Now, maybe about 24 hours ago or so, it was reported that Jimmy Butler had shown interest in joining the Miami Heat organization, and but it was going to involve a sign and trade deal with Philly. But the situation was that Miami would have to free up some cap space in order to be able to sign Jimmy Butler. And earlier today, the Miami Heat traded once promising young big man Hassan Whiteside to the Portland Trailblazers in exchange for, I believe it was Miles Leonard and was it Harkless? Maurice Harkless. And but other teams got involved in the trade. And reading from the article now, and I'll put this article in the description box as well. The Philadelphia 76ers, Miami Heat, Portland Trailblazers, and Los Angeles Clippers have agreed to a 4-team trade centered on Jimmy Butler. Butler will receive a 4-year, $142 million max contract. The Dallas Mavericks were in the original iteration of the deal, which either Goran Dragic or Kelly Olynyk or Derrick Jones Jr. going to them from the Heat. The Clippers will receive Maurice Harkless in the deal, but preserve enough cap space to sign Kawhi Leonard should they receive a commitment. The Clippers will also receive a protected 2023 first-round pick from the Heat for taking back the $11 million expiring contract of Harkless. Harkless was originally going to be traded to the Heat as part of the Hassan Whiteside deal. Myers Leonard will still be traded to the Heat. The 76ers will receive Josh Richardson. Now, props to Jimmy Butler for being able to get a deal like that. And I'm pretty sure a lot of it had to do with Jimmy Butler, Miami, the city, the culture. I'm pretty sure a lot of it had to do with that. I mean, this guy was playing earlier last year in Minnesota, which I actually love cold weather. I love it. You know what I'm saying? I'm a cold weather nut. So someone comes to me and if I'm an athlete and they're like, man, the sun, the sand, fuck that. I want to be up there in the cold tundra of snow and fucking cold. I want to be somewhere where in the summertime a heat wave is 70 degrees. But I'm weird like that. But anyway, for 95% of people, the beautiful weather in Miami and the women are the women. And, this is a team, Miami, that does have some proud history. It's still, looked at as one of the newer franchises. I mean, maybe I'm showing my age with that one, but I remember when Miami joined the NBA like sometime in the late '80s, and they do have 2 NBA championships. And it wasn't that long ago, the Heatles, where they were a relevant franchise, and maybe a challenge by a guy like Jimmy Butler is to show that he can lead a franchise to becoming a contender. I've followed him for a while, you know, Chicago Bulls fan here, so I've seen Jimmy Butler from the beginning of his career. I've seen him work on his game to the point where he went from being just known as a defensive stopper to being one of the best two-way players in the NBA. But I have to say, I'm not convinced that Jimmy Butler is the type of guy that you can lead, that you can build your team around as far as winning a championship. I just don't see it. I just don't see him being that type of player. I see him as more of a second option type guy. He's more of a sidekick type guy that you add on to the first option and build around, and hopefully you get a team that can contend in the future. But for him to be the guy, I just don't see it. Um, He'll forever be compared unfavorably, I think, to Dwayne Wade. And I don't think that's right. Dwayne Wade is the greatest player in the history of that franchise. And whatever Jimmy Butler is able to accomplish in his tenure with Miami, it should be looked at uh, in its own way. You know what I mean? What Dwayne Wade did during his tenure, 3 NBA championships, leading the Heat to their first ever title in just his third season. Um, hey, look, he's a Hall of Famer. I don't think Jimmy Butler's a Hall of Famer, but I do think he's one hell of a player. But I do wonder some things about Jimmy Butler. I remember during his years with the Chicago Bulls, man, this guy was a gamer. And the coach at the time, the head coach at the time, um, he had a reputation for being one of those guys that could run players into the ground. And uh, some people even wonder if some of his overplaying of players, damn, his name is, it eludes me right now. The hell is his name? Jesus Christ. I can't think of his name right now, man. It'll come to me. But some people wonder whether or not his overplaying players as far as extended minutes had something to do with Derrick Rose beginning to suffer from some of his injuries. And I remember Jimmy Butler sometimes Thibodeau, Tom Thibodeau. I remember Thibodeau sometimes playing Jimmy Butler like 44 minutes, 45 minutes, 46 minutes, damn near the whole game, sometimes the entire game. And Jimmy Butler played so many minutes some years, man, where he didn't complain about it. He probably had legs that were extremely tired, but one game he'll play 43 minutes, the next night he'll play 39 minutes, next night he'll play 47 minutes. But you had to think the guy was fucking exhausted. And you do wonder how much mileage has already been uh, spent on Jimmy Butler. Um, I don't know exactly how old Butler is, but he has to be somewhere around 30 by now. So, yeah, you do wonder how much he has left in the tank. I think he's pretty much near the peak of his career, but like I said, you wonder how much he has left in the tank as far as seasons playing at a very high level. And like I said, I'm just not convinced that he's the type of guy that you can build a team around. And Jimmy Butler is also known for being a very, very competitive guy. I do think that he'll get along well with Pat Riley. They have similar expectations of other people. They have high expectations of as far as like your work ethic and what do you bring to the table and seriousness and taking the game serious and whatnot. Um, but Jimmy Butler is also known for being a guy with a personality that can rub some teammates the wrong way. I mean, I don't know. I don't know Jimmy Butler, but from what I can decipher from listening to people talk about him, I think he hates spoiled motherfuckers. I think he hates people who don't take the game seriously as he does, who don't want to win as seriously as he does. And I think ultimately, I think Pat Riley will like Jimmy Butler. Of course, they're both competitive individuals, so they're going to clash heads uh, with certain things. But I think ultimately they both will respect one another a lot. But the problem is going to be just building a team around Jimmy Butler. And, you know, that's pretty much what's going to be. Jimmy Butler is a rather ball dominant player. He's in a situation now where he's going to be the man, and he's probably going to possibly have a career high in shot attempts this year. I wouldn't be surprised if Jimmy Butler averages 25 plus points per game this year. He's in that situation where he's going to be the man, and that's going to get kind of old, though. You know, being the man, but not really winning a lot of ball games. So I understand that a lot of guys nowadays, they want to win, but they also want the credit. A lot of guys, they want to be praised and adulated. And it's I don't know. It's just, I remember watching that Detroit Pistons team, right, from the mid 2000s, where you had a bunch of guys who didn't really care who got the glory as long as they won. And they were one of the best teams in the NBA, went to the NBA Finals twice, and won an NBA championship in 2004. And I love watching that team play because you could tell that those guys totally bought into that concept, that system. And you also got to remember that that team had a lot of guys who did not necessarily have immediate NBA success. Chauncey Billups bounced around the league for so long, you know what I mean? To the point where he didn't even know what position he should fucking play, whether he could make it in the NBA. And then Chauncey Billups worked his way into becoming one of the better point guards in the NBA. Rip Hamilton uh, struggled a little bit with the Washington Wizards. Well, not as far as his play, but he came to the NBA with the Washington Wizards. He and Jordan didn't mesh well. Then he was traded to Detroit for Jerry Stackhouse. I know the Pistons loved the fact they made that trade, and the rest was history with that one. Um, Rasheed Wallace, the original, one of the original bad boys in the NBA, was relatively beloved by the Portland Trailblazers fans. I'll say that, not necessarily the organization, but outside of Portland, man, he had a certain reputation for being a hothead and difficult teammate. A guy who was pretty much an all-star or at least a borderline superstar type player. But you know that Pistons team, he just fit totally. And you see a team like that, and that's what I think basketball should be about, man. I just don't like all of this one dominant ISO guy, and you always build around him. I like teamwork. I like watching a team work as a unit. It's beautiful to watch when a team gets to that point. And I just hope that this isn't just a Jimmy Butler show in Miami, a guy that shoots the ball 25 times and scores 25 to 30 points, but they lose half their games or something like that. I mean, it's just, I don't know. But that's pretty much it, man. That's pretty much all I got to say about that. Tell me what you guys think, man.